Ryan Harper, a man recently abandoned by his fiancée, felt a pang of compassion for a homeless woman and her baby, offering them shelter for the night. However, when he awoke the next morning, he realized his life would never be the same. Ryan entered the hospital in a sharp suit. He was a good-looking man, but the worry etched on his face indicated that something was terribly wrong. His wife, Emily, accompanied him, her serious demeanor mirroring his own. When the doctor appeared at the office door and called Ryan in, he froze for a moment. He glanced at Emily, hoping she would follow, but without looking up from her phone, she simply said she would wait outside. Alone, he stepped inside. 20 minutes later, Ryan emerged in a daze. What he had heard was not what he had expected, and all he needed at that moment was some form of comfort. "Is it over? Can we go?" Emily asked curtly. Ryan nodded, and the two left the hospital, a noticeable distance between them. Desolate, Ryan walked mechanically, barely aware of where he was going. Beside him, Emily kept her focus on her phone, oblivious to the world around her. In the car, she finally put the device away, sighed, and fixed her gaze firmly on him. "Looks like you won't be able to give me the child I've always wanted." Ryan felt a knot in his throat, struggling to respond. He needed a few seconds to gather his thoughts. "We're still waiting for the final test results. There might still be a chance." "I don't have time to wait, Ryan," she interrupted, impatient. "I've achieved everything I wanted in my career. All that's left is a child. If I had known about your incapacity before..." At that point, Ryan was no longer listening to her words. Outside the car, a scene caught his eye. A young homeless mother held her baby, who was crying uncontrollably. "Hold on, I'll be right back," Ryan said, stepping out of the car. Emily called him back, insisting they head home, but he ignored her. He entered a nearby diner and, a few minutes later, emerged carrying sandwiches and a bottle of water. He walked over to the woman and her baby, extending the food with a kind smile. "Here, I hope this helps a little." The young mother, initially surprised and somewhat wary, accepted the offer and thanked him with a shy nod. Back in the car, before he could start the engine, Emily fired off. "What was that, Ryan? You interacting with those kinds of people? Were you trying to provoke me?" Ryan calmly replied that he just wanted to help someone who was struggling. "And what does that solve for us? Do you think you can save the world like this?" Emily shot back, disdain dripping from her words. Ryan remained silent, his face etched with fatigue and sorrow. Later that night, while Emily slept soundly, Ryan got out of bed, feeling overwhelmed by a sense of loss. He walked down the hall until he stopped in front of a door. Taking a deep breath, he opened it, and tears finally streamed down his face. The nursery, meticulously prepared for a baby, stood empty. Ryan sat in the chair, in the dark, and eventually fell asleep there. Days later, the couple returned to the hospital to get the final test results. As before, Emily chose to wait outside, and Ryan entered the office alone. The doctor greeted him with a serious expression. "Unfortunately, I have bad news," the doctor said in a grave tone. "Both the sperm analysis and the DNA test confirm that you are infertile. Biologically, you won't be able to have children." The words hit Ryan like a heavy blow. When he exited the office, Emily already knew the answer just by looking at his face. At home, Ryan sought some comfort from his wife, but all he found was frustration. "I've always dreamed of being a mother, Ryan. If you can't give me that, I don't know how we can continue. It's not fair." Ryan tried to explain that he was equally devastated, but Emily seemed incapable of listening. "If it's not your fault, then whose is it? I'm perfectly healthy. If you were a real man, I'd already be expecting a child." Emily shot back, her words cutting deep. Ryan couldn't believe what he was hearing and decided to stop arguing. Emily had crossed every line. Wounded and feeling lonely, Ryan watched as Emily packed her few belongings into a small suitcase. "I'm going to my parents' house. Someone will come to pick up the rest of my things in the next few days," she said, slamming the door as she left. Without thinking, Ryan went to the shelf and grabbed a bottle of wine. It had been years since he had stopped drinking, but at that moment, all he wanted was to numb the pain that felt devastating. He poured 2 glasses at once, and by the time he drank the third, he was already feeling tipsy. Desolate, Ryan stepped out of the house. Beyond having to deal with the fact that he could never be a biological father, something that had always been his greatest dream, he also had to face the abandonment of his wife. This whirlwind of problems led him to spend the night drinking in bars until he was completely drunk. In the midst of the cold night, Ryan slowly walked to a bridge. Leaning against the railing, he remembered the happy moments he had shared with Emily, especially when they decorated the nursery for the long-awaited baby. But at that moment, what should have been a beautiful memory had turned into a curse. All Ryan felt was a growing anguish. Unsteady from the drink, he looked like a ghost. A cacophony of voices echoed in his head, but the one that stood out the most was the doctors, who had told him, "You are infertile and will never have biological children." Altered by the alcohol and pain, he began to gesture, mimicking the doctor's movements in a melancholy way. Gradually, Ryan edged closer to the edge of the bridge, as the cold wind blew against his face, warning him that he was crossing the line of safety. In his mind, the same questions tormented him. Why did I acquire a big house, a nice car, and a full bank account if I have no wife and child to enjoy it with? At the edge of the bridge, practically hanging over, he looked down, saw the murky water, and took one last swig from the bottle he was carrying when he heard a shout, "Hey, mister!" At first, Ryan thought he was seeing things, but as he squinted his eyes, he choked. A few feet away was a woman holding a baby. Looking closer, Ryan recognized her. It was the same woman he had seen outside the hospital. Drunk and overwhelmed, he exclaimed, "I remember you." At that moment, the baby in the woman's arms began to cry. The sound had an unexpected effect on Ryan, as if it had pulled him back to life. He stepped away from the bridge railing and asked, "Why is she crying? Did I scare her?" In a low voice, the woman replied, "If I don't eat, how can I feed her?" Hearing that made Ryan extremely uncomfortable. As he was about to give up on everything, others were holding on, unsure of how to feed their own children. "Come with me. Let's go get you something to eat," Ryan said, feeling ashamed. The woman looked at Ryan suspiciously, but didn't refuse the offer. They walked toward a nearby store. The rhythm of their walking soon calmed the baby again. As they strolled through the store, the woman introduced herself. "My name is Sophia, and this is my daughter, Mia." While they walked, Ryan asked if she was raising her daughter alone on the streets. The woman explained that she had been abandoned by her boyfriend when he found out she was pregnant. Sophia had grown up in an orphanage and was living with him, so she lost both her partner and her roof all at once. She managed to pay a modest rent for a few months until she was evicted for non-payment. Ryan listened to her story and felt disgusted, especially since it touched on a delicate subject for him. "I don't understand how someone could abandon the woman carrying their own child. That's unacceptable," he said, unable to hide his indignation. Sophia and her daughter had been living on the streets for 2 weeks. Yet, even in such a tough situation, she was still an attractive, well-spoken, and intelligent woman. The young mother felt awkward about accepting help from a stranger and carefully chose discounted items from the shelves, placing them in the cart. Seeing that, Ryan said it wasn't necessary. "Don't worry about the prices. Pick out the best quality items." Sophia relaxed for the first time since they met and replied with a kind smile, "I'll use your money as if it were my own. I'll take the discounted items. There's nothing wrong with them." Surprised, Ryan just nodded in agreement. As they left the store, Ryan said, "Look, I live alone now, and I have a guest room at my place where you two can spend the night." Sophia immediately tensed at the man's proposal. With a determined gesture, She handed the bag she was holding back to Ryan, returning everything she had received. "No, thank you. I'd prefer to keep moving. Goodbye." Ryan, noticing Sophia's distrust, tried to calm her down. "I understand you don't trust me, and you really shouldn't, since I'm a complete stranger. But I swear I have no ulterior motives. I was abandoned by my wife today, and in a moment of weakness, I almost made a wrong decision. You two saved me, and I'll be forever grateful. I'm a good person, and I just want to give back." At that moment, the baby in Sophia's arms smiled at Ryan, making an adorable sound, and then let out a giggle. Little Mia was having a great time watching Ryan's expressions. Her laughter helped Sophia relax a bit, reminding her of the day she received the sandwich and juice from that same man when a woman in a car had yelled at him, "We just need to eat and take a shower. After that, we'll be on our way, okay?" Sophia said, softening the situation. Ryan smiled and replied, "Sure, sounds good." The three of them headed toward Ryan's house, and when they arrived, Sophia was impressed. While it wasn't a luxurious mansion, it was far more than she had ever had. Ryan led her into the living room and set the groceries on the table, asking for a moment before stepping out of the room. When he returned, he brought some clothing options. "I bought these for my ex-wife, but she didn't like them. If you want, they can be yours. I also have some clothes for your baby, and you can take a shower over there." He pointed to a room. "Make yourselves at home. I'll whip up something for us to eat quickly." Sophia took her daughter in her arms and went to the bedroom. Upon entering, she noticed it was a nursery, perfectly designed for a child, which left her stunned. After showering and bathing her daughter, Sophia breastfed Lily until she fell asleep. Ryan had prepared a simple dinner and was surprised when Sophia entered the living room again with the baby in her arms. She no longer seemed like the same woman he had found on the street just minutes earlier. Sophia carefully placed Mia on the sofa and sat down at the table, devouring the meal with great appetite. Ryan watched her with warmth, feeling compassion for this woman who had faced so many hardships. And there, beside him, Lily rested, warm and safe for the first time in weeks. An unfamiliar feeling blossomed in Ryan's heart, filling him with comfort and coziness. He was, if only for a moment, experiencing what it felt like to have a loving family. Ryan decided not to delve into Sophia's past or ask uncomfortable questions. He had already grasped the essential truth. Sophia and Mia had no one else extending a hand to them except for him. "Do you have kids?" Sophia asked, breaking the silence. Ryan swallowed hard before responding. With a hesitant voice, he shared that he couldn't have children, although he had always dreamed of being a father. "I was sure I would be a dad soon, so I decorated the nursery and prepared everything. I dreamed of it, but my dream turned into a nightmare after countless attempts with my ex-wife," he confessed, his voice trembling. Noticing Ryan's emotion, Sophia apologized for bringing up a sensitive topic, but he reassured her. "Don't worry, Sophia. Actually, I'm the one who needs to apologize. I've never been in such a fragile state as the one you found me in today. I was sinking into a dark pit. If it weren't for you, Ryan hesitated, unable to finish his sentence, as Sophia gently placed her hand over his. "It's all right now. We all have our tough moments, but we need to keep faith in ourselves and accept help when it comes. That's why I accepted your invitation," Sophia said. For the first time in a long while, Ryan felt understood by someone. Not the woman he had spent the last years with, but a stranger he had met on the street. They finished their meal, and Sophia picked Mia up from the sofa. Ryan insisted they sleep in the nursery, and this time, the young mother didn't refuse. Sophia went to the bedroom and settled Mia in the crib. As she looked at the lovingly decorated nursery, tears welled up in her eyes. At that moment, Ryan appeared in the doorway, smiled, and wished goodnight to the two of them before stepping out. Sophia imagined Ryan passing through that door every day, knowing he would never hear the laughter of a child there. The next morning, Sophia woke up to a gentle nudge from a cat named Chips, who was rubbing against her legs. "Good morning, sweetie," she exclaimed, petting the cat. Ryan had woken up earlier and prepared breakfast for Sophia. Coffee, bread, eggs, and a variety of fruits on the table. As they ate, Ryan's phone alarm went off, leaving him pale with surprise. It was a reminder about an important work trip he had forgotten in the chaos of his life over the past few days, in addition to the drinking from the night before. Rushing, Ryan told Sophia he needed to get ready to catch a flight, but assured her she could feel at home. Sophia hesitated, but Ryan responded, "It's important to know how to accept help, don't you think? It doesn't make sense for you and Mia to spend the night on the street when this apartment is empty. And who will take care of Chips if I'm not here?" he added, offering a warm smile. Sophia thought for a moment, and Ryan sighed in relief when she finally accepted his offer. Before Ryan left, Sophia made him a sandwich and, with a touch of shyness, mentioned she would be eagerly waiting for him. As she said goodbye at the door, Ryan felt he would miss Sophia and Mia. "I'll be back as soon as I can. Please don't forget me. There's something special and real between us," he said, while Sophia nodded in agreement. Weeks passed, and Ryan and Sophia maintained daily contact through video calls. During these conversations, the young mother introduced Chips and her daughter Mia. Their connection grew stronger every day, filled with laughter and meaningful discussions. Emily had filed for divorce, and despite the pain it caused Ryan, the happiness he felt when talking to Sophia was incomparable to what he had experienced with his ex-wife. Weeks later, Ryan returned home carrying a bouquet of white roses. He now had clarity about what he wanted in life, even hundreds of miles away. "Sophia, would you be my girlfriend?" Ryan asked, emotional. She accepted, and they kissed. Months passed, and their relationship grew even stronger. One night, as they were leaving a restaurant, Ryan was holding Mia in his arms, and upon stepping outside, he ran into his ex-wife, Emily, who was completely taken aback by the scene. Ryan's calm demeanor while handling the situation made him realize he was with the right person. Emily looked confused. "Ryan, is that you?" "That baby. How?" Ryan walked toward the car, not stopping. "Sorry, my daughter needs to sleep. Good night." Sophia wrapped her arms around Ryan's waist and followed him, holding back tears as she realized that her daughter now had a present father. Ryan and Sophia got married, joining their hearts at a beautiful altar. Ryan's friends and acquaintances admired their unexpected love, wishing the couple happiness. Sophia held Ryan's hand, and together with Mia, they got into the car. Ryan started the engine, heading toward a new life filled with love and challenges, finally becoming the father and husband he had always dreamed of being. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a like. And the video appearing on your screen right now is sure to touch you as well. Enjoy the session, and see you in the next video.